What's going on, everybody? Joe Menza here. Welcome to another watercolor painting video and number 2 in my Different Sky series. In this video, I'm going to do something very, very different. I'm going to take advantage of the transparent nature of the watercolor to do the sky. And, well, you'll just follow along here. So I'm outside taking advantage of the nice weather. And I've added some water already to the top portion of the painting. This is 10 by 14, 100% cotton arches. So I've moved to a new palette. I've got a lot of colors on here. We're going to go with an alizarin crimson, purpley, magenta-y sort of color to start with. And trying to show you the mixing here. So this is a random pattern here. Just kind of put this in randomly, leaving plenty of white spots that will ultimately be, well, you'll see. You'll see as this goes. The clouds are really not the white spots, they're the magenta area. And you'll see as I do this. Now I'm just putting a little of that color down below in the at the bottom there with whatever it's going to end up being, just to keep some cohesion in the painting. So I'm just adding a little bit of grays. So you'll probably look at this and say, yeah, it looks kind of weird, but when we come back over with the top coating of paint, that will show through underneath. This is one of the ways you take advantage of using transparent watercolor. And it's sort of a reverse effect. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll paint, we'll leave white spots, like now if that was like gray or blue clouds or whatever, or we would do the whole solid and then maybe we would take some paint away. This is kind of a reverse effect of that. So I'm taking, while I have that on the brush, I'm just taking those same colors, putting them on the bottom. Not sure if we're going to go there yet. It's actually a little stronger than I want, but this is good. This is good experimentation for you to see. And let's say you did something like this and you says, well, kind of like, what do I do now? I made these splotches and it's not really the color that I was going for. You know, I'll make the best of it, or there's no real red clouds or whatever it is. You know, how do I make the most of this? So I'll show you. Right now I'm just kind of building up the base on the bottom. And obviously I've got something in my mind, and without a photo it's kind of hard to see, so I'll put the painting will be in the beginning so you can know where we're going beforehand. So really I'm working with alizarin crimson, Payne's gray, and some ultramarine blue for this portion of it. I'm working on 10 by 14. This is some thick, this is like 300 pound paper, Kilimanjaro, which is a cheap Joe's brand. It's pretty good. It's 100% cotton. Obviously, if you were shipping this particular paper, you would have to ship it flat. You wouldn't be able to ship it and roll it up. So that's the only drawback with using thick paper. But it definitely gives you a solid feel, like almost like you have a piece of canvas or board in your hand. Okay, so now I'm just coming back. I'm wetting this area down now. And my goal is to loosen up some of the paint. I don't want as much white showing through there. So I'm loosening up some of that paint. If I had done this before, it would all have been the same color. But now we're loosening up the paint, so the white spaces in between will just be slightly tinted now that that top part is dry. And you're watching, you're going, wait a minute, he's making more of a mess. This is never going to turn into anything. And that's why I say to you, don't give up. Don't give up on a painting. Keep going, keep pushing forward, keep learning. Never consider a painting a failure. A completed painting is always a success. It's just maybe not your cup of tea. Okay, so now I've got some blues on here along with the alizarin crimson. I'm using a ultramarine blue to start with here, and I'm going right over the top. Now you can see we've sort of covered that up. Now I've added a little more, I've dipped just a little bit into the phthalo blue, which has got a little bit of cobalt. I'm kind of just a little combo of blues, a little blues party here. Break out the trombone for the blues party. So look at now, we're going over the top of that. Looks like we're covering it up, but we really aren't, because when this dries, that other stuff is going to show through. It's unusual, I know. It's unusual a way to go about it, but you know, if you're looking for some, you know, a different look, you know, if all paintings look the same, it's a pretty boring world. So we're coming in with the, I'm using the medium brush, by the way. So yeah, never give up on a painting. Always keep going forward. Try something different. This is your opportunity. And you're in the middle of a painting and you're like, uh-oh. You get that sinking feeling. I think I've painted myself into a corner, literally. That's your moment to take advantage of it and try things out. You know, some of the best, I've read, some of the best like TV shows and movies were situations where they had a low budget and that they had to compensate, and that's when new creativity sprung about. You know, Jaws, the shark wasn't working, so they did a lot of, okay, it's coming, and the music and the bump, 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 bump. And you didn't need to show that expensive shark, you know. It was like, hey, that was genius, but that was, you know, a necessity of you know, out of need. It wasn't something somebody necessarily thought of. It was born out of necessity. So you see now here that I've done this and I've blotted away a little bit of the paint. Okay, so we have the dark blues at the top, and I've blotted away some of the paint, kept that open a little bit in the middle, and you can see that red still wanting to come through. Now the pattern now is, you know, you can come up with different patterns. You could make that a little bit grayer. I think red is probably a good color for that. So if you had sort of a sunset type thing and a little bit of red, you know, you get away with that with the sun bouncing off of the cloud area. I think that works. Again, it's just a different way to get there. I know there's a lot of people, you watch a lot of paintings, and I mean, people arrive at a finished painting that either they like or don't like, but they still arrive there in almost the same process. It's you putting something on a surface, whether it's with brushes. I mean, you look at Pollock, and he poured out his paints. You know, he wanted sort of that, you know, it's sort of chaos. It's almost organized chaos. And he figured out a way by just dripping that out and with the sticks and all that. And at the end, you know, he had his finished painting. And if you look at so many different styles and abstract and things, at the end, is it a failure? Is it a success? Or is it just something you like or you don't like? I'm just spraying that overall with a little water just to keep it open a little bit. I do it from far back, and then it is a little bit more mist as opposed to close up and hitting it at close range. So a failure isn't a failure. It's only a painting that one of two things happen. Either you did not like the result, or the result wasn't what you envisioned in your head. And you have to give yourself a artistic license as you go to adapt. If you says, well, I'm driving, I have this whole day planned out. Okay, I'm going to go here and this and that, and then you have a flat tire on the way. Well, you didn't have a failure of a day. It's just that you had this thing happen. So you're going to have to stop, change a tire, call a tow truck, whatever it is that you do. And it's just adapting to the situation at hand using the knowledge that you have. and maybe in some cases gaining knowledge for future days. Now I'm taking some darker colors here, there's a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue. Just haven't washed my brush really. And I'm going to start putting in some mountains or some hills in here. And the purpose for this is now really, it's really going to make that light from behind look dark. It's going to be a nice contrast. You're going to have a nice counter change between the light and that. And so it makes the light lighter and the dark darker. You can't have the dark without the light. I hear that a lot. So interestingly, you see what's happening here. It almost looks like we have light moving throughout the painting because of that technique that we've employed here with the underpainting. And so it looks like light is beaming out, you know, and that's not necessarily 100% planned, but when it happens, we're happy to take credit for it, aren't we? When someone looks at our painting and say, that's great, oh, I like the way you did it. Now, you shouldn't really probably say, well, I don't know, I spilled my paint. I didn't mean for that to happen, whatever. So you just go, oh, thank you, it's really great. Oh, how do you learn to paint that way? Well, I practice and da-da-da, You're so talented, We're all happy to take the accolades. But then when we post something, sometimes we put the picture up and we go, this didn't come, I don't know. If you put it up and you go, everybody's going to think this is garbage. So I may as well tell everybody it's garbage when they look at it. I said it was garbage, so I already know, thank you. But in reality, everybody's going to look at it differently. And a lot of people are going to be, oh, that's nice, that's good, that's And depending on where you are in your journey and your learning experience, people will go, in our group, people know that, this is where you're at this point, and where you're at, this is very well, it's not, there is no garbage. Not really. I mean, I suppose if you dumped a bunch of paint on the picture and you go, look, this is a landscape, then I think that's why they invented abstract. So we're misting here. We've got, I like to do a little mist when I make a mountain area. It creates little, like little dots, little bubbles. It creates a randomness. So now we've got, by putting this in, we've got the distant hill. And then if you see the way the light comes through the passage there, you see how that creates now a little pass, and there's a little transition of the red on one side that was there from the sky that I used as an underpainting below, underpainting wash, and now that's showing through. And so you get, that's like a reflection of the cloud, right? So we're happy when that happens too. When things go in a way that at the end we go, well, I don't know if I didn't plan for that to happen, but it looks good. At the end, you'll still go, it's a success of a painting, or I'm happy with it. This turned out exactly the way I wanted it to. Really, you should start a painting and go, I don't want this to turn out the way I want it to turn out. I want it to turn out well. And as I go along, I'm going to make the necessary adaptations throughout the painting. And I'm going to let the painting take me somewhere. And then you and the painting get to go there together. And it's a surprise maybe at the end. I think that's why I like painting from imagination so much, is I really like at the end, it's a surprise to me as much as anyone else, when I'm painting. I'm just going with it. I'm all for painting, like the one that I did was the Geistern Stream painting. That was from a photo, but like I knew how I had to arrive at the end. So I'm like, if I don't arrive here, or at least have something, then the whole thing is wrecked. But then if I'm painting something and I wanna, I'm letting it go. You'll notice those paintings, they turn out actually better in a lot of ways. They're more spontaneous. So right now I'm kind of letting these hills drip down so that I can create a little reflectiveness to them or a little bit of land below. So let's get some trees going in here to contrast against our sky. Now we did a nice job with the sky in the background, so we don't want to necessarily cover too much of that up. So we'll do some little pine trees with the fan brush. Sort of stipple those in there. And the way I've been doing it lately, if you didn't see my other video, is I changed the angle of the fan brush to an up position. If you look at pine trees, sometimes the pine branches are hanging down. And sometimes they're actually pointing straight up. Well, the fan brush necessarily lends itself to that direction. So you make your straight line, and then you go at like a 45-degree angle and work down that stem. And then you've got actually a legitimate looking tree there. And that's something I learned just by, okay, I'm going to change the direction on this painting one day. So that's the learning process when you're doing, you're doing something, you want to take a chance. You're not always going to do some things the same way, If you did everything the same way, you'd never grow as an artist. Your painting should look much different. Even once you're expert level or wherever, medium level, whatever, your painting should constantly be, when you look back from a year to a year, your painting should look different. Even once you're good, or consider yourself good. I don't know where we gauge that at, but let's say you consider yourself at a point to where I feel like I'm pretty good now. I got a handle on this. In a year, it's not that your painting should be better, but you should notice your style has grown, and it's changed because you've incorporated different elements into it. If you were hanging in a gallery, I think that's one of the important things back in the day was they wanted to know if you were growing as an artist, if you were going to come, if you were just constantly putting out the exact same thing, people want the new thing. Oh, look at what he's done now, It's like these TV shows. They have to keep coming up with better and better stories to keep you interested. So we're doing the land-based thing over here now. We've got a couple of pines here. These are a little skinnier pines. I was watching one guy, and I think there was an artist on Netflix doing oil painting who I like. He's got a German accent, I think. And he said not to make your trees look like Christmas trees. I don't know why. He didn't really say why. I like Christmas trees. I don't know the problem. But maybe, I don't know, maybe he didn't want to invoke a Christmas tree feeling in a springtime painting. I'm not really sure. But it made me think only to like, hey, maybe I should make trees a little different shape just to be different. So taking the fan brush here and just doing some little things at the bottom here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to extend this land all the way across the bottom just to keep the water sort of pushed back so it doesn't look like it's running out of the painting. So just kind of dancing in a few little different colors into the bottom, and kind of going off of some of the blues and the yellows of the other colors. We want to keep that scheme going. And we notice it's a little darker of a painting with the light in the middle, so the greens need to be a little bit darker in order to better contrast off of that, and so the colors don't clash with one another. So now I'm just taking the old toothbrush trick, and I'm flicking in a little water. I'm flicking in a little cobalt blue, and just trying to create some textural things at the bottom. I don't want to get too detail oriented, but I just want to put in some little textural things now and touch up some of these pine trees. We're mostly done here. It's just really little maintenance points at this juncture of the painting. You can see now that light not only looks like it's moving up, it looks like it's moving down. And one of the things about, sort of impressionism is things are supposed to kind of look like they're moving. Water should look like it's moving, or light should have, can look like it's coming at you or away from you, things like that. And not every painting has that. But the ones that do, those are the ones that'll keep you focused on them. First, the brain looks at it and says, well, what am I looking at here? Oh, and you kind of get that dazzling impression. You want to keep people, their eyeballs on your painting as long as possible. It took you a half hour to make it, and they looked at it in about a half a second. Oh, it looks good. I'll see you later. That's what I get a lot. Oh, yeah. Hey, what do you think of this one I did today? That's good. And then the head turns. Wait a minute, you barely looked at it. I was looking at this thing for like a half an hour. You must stand here for at least 5 minutes. No, it's up to you. It's up to you to have someone look and go, oh, I really like that. And then they keep looking, you see. Then you know you got something there. But not every painting is going to be like that. So that's why I say enjoy the process. This is a wonderful anti-anxiety tool. I'm not making any medical health claims, but when you're doing the painting, your focus is just so much into that the things you were worried about before, they're in the background. There's something about painting that just requires all of your focus. I've never had anything like that. There's a lot of things I could be doing, and in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about 80 other things I need to do. But when I'm painting, all of my focus is in there. I'm not like, I got to go. I got laundry to do. I'm not thinking about any of that, or I better call so-and-so. I'm just in there. I'm in the moment. And so look at that. We're finished already. Here's our close-up. And here it is in the virtual frame. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.